Get Involved Referee is brought to you by Pressbox PR. Pressbox PR puts your brand on the map. From a chat over a pint to the headline of a website, Pressbox PR takes your brand and gives it the recognition that it deserves. With a proven track record with multiple clients, you'll be able to see your press go beyond the box with Pressbox PR. Check out pressboxpr.co.uk for more information. Hello and welcome to Get Involved Referee with Des Roache, Steve Conroy and me, Lindsay Heron. Well, not a very action-packed SPFL programme, gentlemen, over the weekend. It was all happening in England, so we'll maybe catch up with the Premiership action shortly. And also look at the younger referees coming through, because a lot of the younger ones getting their chance at the weekend, which is good to see. And maybe have a wee look too at Rangers-PSV, big game coming up, and the official that's been appointed to that one. But let's start off down in London, the North London derby, Chelsea-Tottenham, South London derby between Antonio Conte and madcap Thomas Tuchel. But plenty of talking points, Steve.
There were indeed, and hopefully it keeps up. If we have a quiet week up here, then they have a mental weekend down there. There's certainly going to be lots to talk about in that one.
I mean, the last time we had a bit of a touchline set to like that, there was a blinking government inquiry, wasn't there, with Ali McCoist and Neil Lennon?
It just shows you how differently it's looked upon. But I think pantomime season has certainly came early in the English Premier League.
It really was quite fiery, wasn't it? I think Chelsea were annoyed because they were probably the better team in the game, and some of the big decisions went against them. So let's look at the first one, and it's quite an interesting one because it's that whole interfering with play scenario, Steve. It's Pierre-Emile Højbjerg who takes the shot, and is Richarlison in an offside position first and foremost?
He's in an offside position. As we all know, it's not an offence to be in an offside position, so that's the easy bit. It's the interpretation after that gets difficult, and it's one of those ones, I've said it here before, but thank God I wasn't making that decision. That was a hellish call to make.
Is the goalkeeper going to be unsighted? That's basically what Chelsea are claiming?
Yeah, it's basically impeding the goalkeeper from doing his job as he's seen to get a fair and clean opportunity to see it. Personally, I would have been given an offside on that one. I think that the distance, he's maybe 8 yards away or whatever, but the trajectory of the ball has came across the front of him, which the goalkeeper, you can say, is unsighted. For me, I know other people are going to be 50-50 on it or whatever, but for me, I would be given offside on that one.
I agree. The exact same reasoning. And Richarlison, even when I saw it, maybe took a step towards the trajectory of the ball. But all in all, I think the goalie was impeded, so I'd be giving it offside. But perfectly happy to accept that there's legitimate arguments for not giving it and letting the goal stand. I don't believe them, but they're perfectly legitimate.
It just shows you how difficult it is.
Well, that's right. But the interesting thing is that fans are saying, well, for goodness sake, you've got VAR. Mm-hmm. Where are they? Why are they not telling the referee what to do in that instance?
Because VAR is there for, many times have we said it, a clear and obvious error. That is anything but a clear and obvious error. That is purely an opinion. And I know Mr. Souness was saying that he didn't understand the wording or it wasn't clear. The wording of the law is perfectly clear. The interpretation of it is awful sometimes, and that was prime.
It was a massive moment, wasn't it? Obviously, because it gave Tottenham the equalising goal, the first equalising goal.
Yeah, it gets them back into the game and then gives them the impetus and to go on again. It was a great game of football. It was end to end and it was back and forth. If Tottenham don't get that goal there and Chelsea go 2-0 up, game could be done. So that's put them right back in it, and you can see how animated, obviously, Conte was getting at the side of the park. He was scoring and tackling everything that moved on that pitch.
And then, of course, Chelsea do get themselves back in front, and it looks like they're going to win the game. And then all of a sudden, very late drama in the match. And I think obviously Christian Romero decided that Marc Cucurella needed a haircut.
Oh yeah, he certainly wanted a handful of that. How many times have we said it on here, or I've said it? You try and mitigate for the ref, but not on that occasion. Sorry.
When you see the still, Anthony Taylor, I think it was the referee, is looking directly at him. So whether he needs VAR to tell him that, I think he should be picking it up. Then when it goes to VAR, for them still to decide that it's not a foul. And as we explained just a moment ago, because the play hadn't restarted, they award a corner kick. If he had looked at VAR and decided that, oh no, actually that is a foul, which it was, then it turns into a direct free kick for Chelsea.
VAR wouldn't necessarily be involved in that because it's a free kick.
Yeah,
that's all the call is.
But I'm saying, if the referee had done his job and got it right, then it's a free kick.
Oh, it's a free kick.
And the ball's up there at the park. And like we always say, when there's these major decisions and dicey decisions go, Tottenham then go and score from that referee error.
Yeah, it's written in the stars. The minute he missed it, they were always going to score.
Yep.
Always.
Then we get the pantomime.
but like you say, I mean, the ball's coming over and, Romero's got a handful of Cucurella's hair and he's pulling him to the ground before the ball even gets anywhere near that part of the penalty area. So it's hard to understand how the referee misses that, Steve.
Can't give you reasoning or thinking on that one. He's made a mistake. Don't know what he saw, but he's made a mistake on that one. It was a free kick to Chelsea, and again, in my opinion, he should have been sanctioned. And the sanction I'd be giving him, I think that's an assault. I'd be giving him a red card. It's
certainly borderline, but when we're saying how he's not seen it, the referee doesn't need to be looking in the air for the corner. The ball's going to land anyway.
Yeah.
So you should be looking at what's going on in the penalty. Is there holding? Is there scuffling? That should be your priority. You've got a fourth official and you've got two assistants that can be looking at the ball in the air. Mm-hmm. You've got to get that decision. It's in the penalty area in the last couple of moments or added time. That's got to be your focus.
Like you say, Anthony Taylor, the referee, and Thomas Tuchel didn't miss him and hit the wall after the game.
Yes.
With some fairly spicy comments. And, of course, as a result, the FA are launching an inquiry. Old Thomas will be hauled up in front of the beaks. I mean, that's what happens, isn't it? It's so passionate for some of these guys.
Well, we saw what passion can do for for these two. And God help us if you can't keep control of your emotions. You're allowed to get excited, but bloody hell. But yeah, he'll be hauled in front of the beaks. And do you know what? No matter how wound up or how much the red mist comes down, there's no excuse for some of the things you say about people.
I was going to say that too. I mean, did you experience that yourself as a ref? Did you come and pick up a paper on a Monday morning and see comments from a manager who's having a pop at you? And then would you say to the SFA, for example, wait a minute, what's this guy all about? I mean, he's calling me onto the suds under the sun.
You've had my opinion on how helpful the SFA have been to me. But, do you know, we talked about it earlier, there's ways around it. And, you know, everybody knows how well I got on with John Hughes, with Yogi Hughes. That started because I sent off one of his players wrongly and he was going mental at the tunnel. Mm-hmm. And I just said to him, look, get in. You know, you can't change anything. Get in, give me 15 minutes, let things calm down, come in and we'll have a chat. Absolutely fine. No problem after that at all.
Is that something Tuchel should have thought about doing then, for example? You know, just calm himself down a bit and then go and see Anthony Taylor and rather than rant and rave to his media colleagues?
Well, that's what he should have done. However, he chose not to, and he's let both barrels go to making comments to the media and to the press journalists. Like Stephen, I would always say to team managers, if it was sufficient, and say, right, look, give me 15 minutes. We can have a chat. It's an emotional time, so let things calm down with a clearer head. You'll hopefully get a bit more sense and clarity from it. But with regards the SFA phoning you or getting in touch with the SFA regarding somebody making a comment, my experience, they defended the clubs, they didn't defend us. Mm-hmm. They would answer phone calls from clubs in the Monday morning. Don't know if we would be that high up the priority list.
I wonder if that's changed or not. I don't know if anecdotally you've heard your current colleagues or have they been any support over the years, or is it much the same as it was, Steve?
To be honest, I haven't spoken about anything quite as frank as that because sometimes they have to be careful who they're talking to and what they say. Mm-hmm. I do know that there has been occasional meetings and they've been advised of the people that can be talked to. So I don't know. I certainly keep saying it. You don't hear them, you don't see them very often coming out and defending us in the media.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. Oh, well, we'll see what happens to Mr. Tuchel in terms of Anthony Taylor. But yeah, sadly, there wasn't the same fervour and excitement across our games at the weekend, gentlemen. But the one good thing that we spoke about at the top of the show was the appointments at the weekend was an indication of, where we're going at the moment, Des. Yeah,
that's what I brought it up in there. It's all relatively new guys. Okay, Nick's been here for a while and other people have dipped in and out. But when you look across the board, it's not the old guard, it's the new kids in the block, so to speak. And we were here to praise them. They had a very, very good weekend. There's not particularly many talking points. Yeah, well done to all the guys involved.
Just going through who was all involved, obviously, we just talked about Nick, obviously, at the Rangers game. David Dickerson was doing Kelly Celtic, wasn't he?
Yep, and again, I think that's an indication of how highly he's regarded. Mm-hmm. The fact he's getting Celtic away this early in the season, and he passed off seamlessly. There was no big issues that I could see from it. Mm-hmm. You had Colin Stephen out as well. You had Craig Napier at Livingston and Hibs. Grant Irvin was out. So
Chris Graham, wasn't it, up at
Chris Graham at Aberdeen? Yep. So
which is probably the best game of the weekend, actually.
It was
in terms of the drama between the two teams.
But again, he's handled it well.
No, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. No scenarios that were.
Yep. Thankfully, nothing major to report, and long may it continue.
Just a couple of wee things to flag up. Then the Rangers St Johnstone game. We talked last week about about Moritz Jens going into the crowd and celebrating the goal that put Celtic in front in that match up at Ross County. You've had a look at it, but I think it's momentum that carries Malik Tillman into the crowd. He kind of falls over the advertising hoarding after he scores and he ends up in the crowd. So no booking there. Is that the right call, Steve?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If he hadn't have jumped the hoarding, he'd could have done himself a mischief. So no, absolutely not. His momentum took him over. He avoided it, had a couple of hand slaps and then came away. No hassles for me.
Same for you, Des?
Yeah, I can accept it. I think you could have maybe put the brakes on a bit earlier to stop him, but that's just being petty. But no, I wouldn't be. He's not went and jumped into the crowd to create an atmosphere. What we said about Jens. So no, I can go with that.
So it is slightly different then, just because the Celtic fans are going to say, wait a minute, why was he not booked when? Of course, when people are talking about Jens, we should have been booked.
I mean, I don't know if we were talking Chelsea. Was Harry Kane cautioned for his diving into the crowd, and half the team were in there?
Half the team was in there, yeah.
So
didn't see him.
The second Rangers goal, though, a bit of dubiety about an offside-onside situation there, Steve. I think you were quite impressed with the build-up play, actually, that Matondo winning the ball and gets it into Colak and he tucked it away well.
Yeah, it didn't actually dawn on me about offside initially because I thought the tackle was cracking, and that's an indication of how good I am at football. I don't worry about the goal, just the tackle. I thought that was great, but looking back on it, I think probably he was offside.
He's behind, certainly behind the last man, isn't he? When he steps back, Colak, to pick up the pass.
Yeah, so he's gained an advantage by being in that position in the first place, and then brought himself back onside. But when the ball was played, he was in an offside position. But again, that's not Nick's call. I would be looking for my AR.
Oh no, Nick couldn't have shouted on that one. No.
But like Steve said as well, the build up to the goal was absolutely fantastic. You've got to praise Rangers for the sort of free flowing football that they were showing at that moment.
So that's one for like you say, the assistant on the right side of the main stand should be able to see that one.
I would have thought so, or I'd like to have hoped so.
That's VAR.
Yes.
And that would be a VAR, wouldn't it? Because they would look at the goal and they would be able to ascertain that would be offside, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be a definite one. Yeah,
yeah, that's the clear and obvious.
So it is a big moment in the game, obviously, because it puts Rangers 2-0 up. Effectively gives them a real good platform to go and win the match.
Yeah, they've got momentum. They've got a wee bit of a cushion. They're playing well. What I did notice was that Callum Davidson never made any mention of, saying, well, if we were still only 1 down at that point, we were still in the game, which I was quite surprised. But yes, VAR would have been picked up for that. That would have been, no goal, offside.
Just a wee bit of fun and games in the Livingston Hibs match. A favourite friend of the show, Ryan Porteous, was involved in this one, Steve. I mean, it seemed like a bit of an innocuous challenge in the halfway line on Martin Boyle. And the next minute, Porteous is in pushing and shoving and screaming.
Well, thank God he's back. And again, many times have we said it, I've got no idea what he was doing. As you said, it was a shove.
It's the quickest he's moved. Probably the quickest he's moved the whole game to get involved in anything.
I know. And then I don't think Boyle didn't look as though he was doing or saying anything until Porteous got involved. So he must have thought, something's happened here. It was just a piece of nonsense, and that's him at his best.
I thought Craig handled it quite well, though. Craig Napier, he was in quickly and tried to diffuse the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know if we're getting just as hands-on as Craig did, but he certainly got in amongst it, diffused the situation. So yeah, you've got to give him credit for that. He done well in that heated situation.
Absolutely.
And he had another sort of potential call to make in that game, Steve, where Boyle went down in the box under a bit of pressure from Stefan Omiyonga, and Craig was quick to say, no, you're not getting a penalty for that, mate.
Yeah, again, hats off to him. That was a good call, cracking call. Didn't caution him, so he's not giving it as a dive, but he's certainly saying that there wasn't anything in there that was a foul. An opinion piece, so no hassles.
No, he was well positioned, and we know how fast Martin Boyle is. It's on a sticky AstroTurf pitch. There wasn't a push on him. There wasn't a jersey pull. It might just be he actually stumbled on a pitch and moving at pace.
What we did mean to say though, and we talked about it when you watch Craig in the build up to the move, and fair play to him, he obviously saw what was coming. He did an arc. To get round to get the perfect view on it. We've talked about the game management. He knew what was coming and got himself into the best position. And when you're in the best position, nobody can argue with you.
No. And apart from Boyle protesting it as he would, there was no comeback on it either. And what he done is he's apt to get into position to see it. As soon as he gave it, he's got himself away. So it's nothing can come back to him. So yeah, well done.
So the young guns were out in force at the weekend then. So who's your top man from all of the 6 games?
First of all, saying it's probably for the second time, I think David Dickinson was up there. So he's obviously doing well, but I'd be ref of the week, I'd be giving it to Craig.
We're going to disagree here. I would be giving it to Craig. Had a great game. I would be giving it to David Dickinson purely for the spotlight on the game. It's live on TV. It's the current league winners away from home. I'll go with David on that one. So Toss
Split
a coin.
award this week.
Split award. They can get half each.
Well, actually, there was nothing to report from that match, was there?
No.
At Rugby Park, there wasn't even one dubious decision that went either way.
So for doing that and keeping it quiet and keeping it under control, yeah, I'll go for David.
And just finally, lads, a big European night, obviously, in Glasgow. Rangers-PSV Eindhoven in the first leg of the playoff round to get into the Champions League. A small matter of about 40 million quid riding in these two matches. So UEFA obviously treating it as a pretty much a Category 1 game. I'd imagine they've put Daniele Orsato in charge, a very experienced Italian referee, 46 years of age, covered big matches. No surprise to you, Steve, I suppose.
It's certainly somebody of that calibre. No, not specifically him, but somebody of that calibre. And as you said, they don't come much bigger than this. So they've given it to somebody that they know can handle it. He's more than fit for this.
Yeah, absolutely. And UEFA will be aware what's Ibrox like on a European night. Crowd are going, the players are pumped up. So it's going to need somebody that's not going to shrink in those settings. And this is just a £40 million game. There's a lot riding on it. So yeah, you would expect, and delighted that it is someone who's well versed in these types of games.
It's interesting you mention that because we talked about the referee for last week's game. You and I, Des, the Greek chap, Sideropoulos, I think it was something like that. I hope I got that right. Tassos Sideropoulos. There you go. Easy for me to say.
Yep, sounds good.
But he seemed to get himself in a bit of a fankle in the atmosphere last week. He was going to send off James Sands at one point for a second yellow, and then the AR2, as you would call him, I just call him the linesman, it says, no, it wasn't a foul, play on sort of things, or a drop ball. That's
good officiating. That's working as a team.
That's the team working.
And that's what the name of the AR is, assistant referee. So he's there to assist. And if he's seen something that's factually correct and the referee's made an error, tell him, let him know. That's why they're all mic'd up. That's why we've got this technology that's coming in. So as long as it's the right decision, you don't really care how you get there, as long as it's right.
Yep. Team wins, the team loses.
Because that was a massive moment. I think the score was 2-0 at the time. So the tie was levelled at 2-2 with Union St Gilloise. And, if James Sands gets sent off at that point, wrongly perhaps, so it could be all over for Rangers, Could be,
but thankfully the right call was arrived at, and it doesn't matter how you get there so long as you get there.
Yeah, agreed.
Absolutely. Yeah, Mr. Orsato, he did Real Madrid Man City, the second leg of the Champions League semi-final last year, which was a big game. Ended up 6-5 in aggregate. I don't know if you remember that. 3-1 in the Bernabeu. So it's a fantastic match. So if he's getting games of that level, and he's done the Milan derby, he's done Juventus games repeatedly, then you'd expect it to be a pretty safe pair of hands.
Oh yeah, you're not going to get much safer, and I hope we're not cursing them. But yeah, I think they've certainly given it as much consideration as the game merits. So I think they've made the right call.
Yeah, and he'll be around at the last stage of the Champions League again. You don't do Real Madrid and Manchester City in the semi-final if you're just on the way up. No, this is a good guy, and we've certainly got the weather to welcome him with.
Exactly. After a heat wave, he comes into a blinking rainstorm. But there you go. Oh well. Well, listen, it's Glasgow against Edinburgh next weekend in the SPFL. So hopefully there's some histrionics we can talk about.
There will be.
Yeah, absolutely. And probably in both games.
Look forward to it, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Get Involved Referee.